So we are live on YouTube right now. Very good afternoon to all our viewers today. It is a pleasure to see you all today. Today we have with us a very established senior political leader, as well as someone who has worked for the public to a very great length. And from a very beautiful location of India, Manipur. He is the member of parliament of Manipur, and allow me to introduce Dr. Lorho, member of parliament of Manipur. Welcome, sir. Welcome, Anasha.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Digital Parliament. I think it is a great opportunity for me to be with you, and through you to connect to my people in Manipur. Yeah, it is indeed a great privilege to be part of your program this afternoon, and I hope we'll have a great time.
Yeah. An honor to have you with us today. So your journey from doctor to a political leader, what were the hardships you faced and how did you address them?
Well, as a doctor, our view at looking at our patient or the people is the body, spirit, and the soul. And therefore, I think our approach is very, very comprehensive. We look at the total being of a person. And that, from being a doctor to become a politician, the challenge only was that from a personal patient, we have to look at the totality of the population as our patient or the people in need and also the people in want. And so that is basically the approach that I've made. It was not a very difficult thing, but yet it was a challenge because the need of the community, the pain of the community, the desire of the community, the vision of the community is something that I have to tag along with. And that is where, when I came in, I said that there is nothing that we can do to hide, but to reveal and to approach the matter of facts with truth. And so that was how I approached. And so it is like dealing with a patient. I cannot hide the patient's diseases. I have to tell him that this is what you are suffering from, and this is your cure. And this is the thing that you need to do to continue on. And so that is exactly how I approach this, from being a doctor to in the political front. That is how it is.
Wonderful, sir. Right now it's COVID-19 times. What are the initiatives that you have taken for the people in your constituency, sir?
Yeah, COVID-19 has been a big challenge. It was something that was unprecedented. It was something that we had never thought that it will come to this magnitude. And I think both for my own place, for India, and so also for the world. And I think this is one of the first time that there has been total lockdown in the whole of this universe. And I think this is a very fearful thing. And yet we trust that there is God who is in control. Maybe humanity has gone down to such a degradable morality that maybe something is out there telling us to look back, to retrospect and get back to ourselves. That is how. Now, with this event of the COVID-19 that came to us last year, sometime in February or March of 2020, I think it came to us as a surprise. And yet we knew that things like this were going on elsewhere in Europe and in the rest of the world. And when it started, of course, in China, it hit us very hardly. First, it was the slurs that were given on the northeastern people, and many of those who suffered those slurs were from my constituency, and I felt very, very bad. And yet we know that it is because of the insensitivity of our people. And I think the government needs to do a lot, not only in dealing with this pandemic as it is, but to deal with the communal sensitivity of our people. Northeast has been kept hidden from the rest of India for a long, long time. And now with the new education policy, I hope that the government will take it to a point that the syllabus pertaining to the customs, the culture, the people, the land, demography of the people in Northeast India is highlighted so that the mainland Indians come to know and well of the people there. The little things that I did, I know that we could have done much, but in the midst, as soon as it began, all the funds that were given to us were also withdrawn, were suspended. And so as MPLAD wasn't there, it became a big challenge for us. And yet when there was still time, there was little thing that I tried to do. That is, we distributed ventilators. In Manipur, there are 16 districts, but out of which 13 of them are within my constituency. And so that was a big field. And so I tried to reach out to all the districts in the 13 districts of my constituency. But over and above that, because it was a humanitarian problem, it was a problem not only pertaining to those that were in my constituency, there were those that are elsewhere who are also suffering. And so I tried to reach out to all the 16 constituencies of my state. And that is how providing ventilators, protective gears, masks, gloves, and sanitizers, and various things such as that. And so that was the first time that we actually tried to reach out. In the meantime, we were trying to educate and make our people aware of the need for social distancing, for wearing masks, and the washing of hands. And I think the medical fraternity came to this field at the right time with the right advices for our people. And that is how we went. Then later on, we went to, food became a problem because of lockdown. The markets were not opened. And then availability of food, the people who were selling and buying vegetables, the vendors were also not being able to do their businesses. And so people who actually needed green vegetables from the hills that come into the valley of Imphal, that availability became a problem. And so we organized that the people in the hills, they felt sympathy, or they felt that their counterparts in the state, in the valley, they are also suffering. That is outside of my constituency. And so they came with their vegetables, truckloads of them. And then we went from constituency to constituency, distributing food items and vegetables and, whatnots across the state. And so that is how we actually tried to approach. Then later on, of course, in the second wave, the oxygen concentrators became a great need. Oxygen was the main reason why there was so much of fatality within our country. And I think our country was unprepared. And so this became a very crucial need. And so we decided that we must try to mobilize as much as oxygen concentrators as possible. Unfortunately, because we did not have any funds, as I say, I tried to link up with various organizations that were available with this type of help to the communities, the philanthropic organizations. We linked up with a number of them, and more than 110, 20 oxygen concentrators were distributed in the various PHCs and district headquarters and community health centers. And so that is how we went. And of course, not the least, but one of the other thing was we tried to contact with the PM Care Fund. And then from there, we approached them for providing us COVID care centers. And that is how we approached for 3 districts, because these were the most affected districts. And so the government at this point, the PM Care Fund at this point have considered 1 district, and that is Ukhrul. And the construction and other things are about to start now. And so hopefully the 3rd wave will wait until we are prepared. It's a great thing. Yeah, we are also thankful to the government for having taken various other initiatives. Now, PSA, the liquid oxygen, and various other oxygen plants that have been set up in various parts of the state, particularly also in my district, in my constituency. I think this has been quite commendable, and we're thankful that the government is doing such initiatives, and I hope it will help reduce the pain and the fear and the psychological trauma that has been faced by our people, because now the government is more or less prepared. Yet, I tell you, there is nothing that we can take things for granted. We still have a lot to do. We need to go miles and miles when we see that all of this will be gone from our face. And we only hope for the best.
Wonderful. So that's a lot of work in a very short duration of time that you've taken up, sir. So what is Manipur has been in news for many reasons, and there is a inner Manipur and there is a outer Manipur. What is your take on Delimitation Commission 2020, who are actually working to make inclusive voting and contesting in the region? Do you think there should be inclusion of the 8 assembly constituencies to the inner Manipur?
Yeah, this has been a very contentious issue way back in the year 2020 and 2001. I think the census were conducted, and there has been a lot of issues. The many of the hill districts, many of the villages were left out. Many of the issues that were raised by the local communities were not understood and were not taken up by the census authorities. And that therefore, when the actual delimitation exercise began way back in 2006 or so, I think, 4 or 6. When it began, I think there were a lot of oppositions because the government said that the delimitation will not include the 3 subdivisions of Senapati district, and that happens to be my personal district as well. And that is perhaps the most populous of the whole of the all the from all of the districts in the outer Manipur. So when those are being left out, I think people put in a lot of litigations. They protested, they went for this and that. And finally, the election commission also came up with the census department. They came to reevaluate the census. And I think when they did it, they also found that it was only right for the people to protest. And they said that this should be done. But somehow the delimitation could not take place because there were oppositions from the other side, from the inner Manipur, because they were to lose 5 seats if rationalization of all of these the constituencies were to be made, the total number of seats not being increased, because it is yet to do so only after 2026. And so because of that, I think there was an issue. And so because of the fear of loss of 5 seats from the valley, it was only too right for them also to protest. Now, the only thing is whether because of somebody protests because of some fears, should the rights and the democratic rights or of the people should be just neglected or should be just dumped. That became an issue. And so today, when in 2020 in March, when the delimitation commission was set up, we thought that finally something good is happening, that this delimitation commission can look at the nitty-gritties, the issues that are being faced by the people. In some of the constituencies in the hills, particularly even in my own, we have nearly 55,000 voters, whereas compared to some of the constituencies in the rest of Manipur, there are 17 or 18,000 or less than 20,000. Many of such constituencies being there, a rationalization of all these things needed to be done. And so when those things were raised, yes, we thought that maybe with the coming of the delimitation commission, things would be made right. But unfortunately, things did not happen. It went on and until the end of March 2021. Nothing happened, excepting maybe for some exercises that were started in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, in the 2021, after March, there was another notification that came out that rescinded the notification of the previous notification, and northeastern states, the 4 northeastern states were left out. This became a very unfortunate thing. And so I had also approached the then law minister, law and justice minister, and then we discussed, and then they said that we'll see, because then we needed to do an amendment of the 8A of the Representation of Peoples Act 1950. That was what I was told. And so thinking that during that particular session, some things would take up, some law amendments could be made even in that People's Representation Act, but somehow the parliament ended and then nothing happened, and it has dragged on until now. Even this time also we had looked up with great hopes, high hopes, but nothing happened. And so this being the case, I think it is very unfortunate that people have to be kept deprived of their rights for so long. It is the last implementation took place sometime in 1974, 76. And so it is a long, long time. Now, if we have to wait until 2026, it will be 50 years, and 50 years of being kept in the lurch as it was in the past. I think that is very, very unjustified. It's great injustice being done to the people. Now, again, also, we have come to know from the Law and Justice Ministry that the reason why they have not taken up this is because there has been oppositions raised from the counterparts of the state and also from the government, because they fear that law and order issues may come. I think the government really need to think very seriously, because in the process of trying to avoid certain things, they are trying to create other things which may be more unwanted. You know, in Northeast India, we have also known that they have been neglected for such a long, long time. And because of this neglect, they fear, the people are beginning to feel that the center doesn't really care about the Northeastern people. And because of our racial distinctions and because of various other issues that prevail in our Northeast with the rest of India, I think this should not be allowed to foster any further. The government must do something very, very fast to do this. Now, in that being the case, then another issue is there are some of 8 constituencies within the Outer Manipur parliamentary constituency, where these are valley-based people. They are the general category population, and they have no right to contest in the elections, though they have been given the right to vote. And I think this is a deprivation of certain democratic rights. And the people in the valley from these 8 valley constituencies have also been demanding so hard that they be excluded from the Outer Manipur parliamentary constituency, and then they be included in the inner parliamentary constituency. I think that is also a democratically a very right demand that they are making. And I think the logistics of the logic of all these demands should be taken into consideration before the government just abruptly takes any decision saying that law and order or whatever. And I don't think this law and order should come as apprehended. I do not know what the intelligence people have to say, but I think these are some things that we must carefully work it out, maybe in discussion with the communities, and then I think it has to be worked out. Unless there is understanding, is bound to be problem.
I highly appreciate it, and thank you for sharing this information in so much of depth and clarity. And I'm sure it would reach the right ears. Sir, apart from that, where are we heading on the Indo-Naga peace talks?
Well, that is another contentious issue and topic that we're raising. The Indo-Naga peace talk, I think you have known that we have already had a number of ceasefires before this current ceasefire that was signed in 1997. When the ceasefire was signed, a lot of things have been discussed, a lot of ground rules have been prepared, and it had taken a long time before the final talks began. Talks began, and the negotiations now, if we look at it in totality, it is already 24 years. It was since 1997, and today it's already just crossed 24 years. And I think 24 years is a long, long time. How long are we there to wait? How long are we prepared to delay and deny rights of a people? I think the people have a vision, they have an aspiration, and it has to be met with in some form. You know, somehow the talk down or somehow the forced upon or enforced settlement is not going to help. You know, during 1966-67, when the first ceasefire took place, and then the first ceasefire was signed, I think there was a time when the 16-point agreement, no, it was 61-62. the 16-point agreement was signed. When the 16-point agreement was signed, the discord or the issue blew up, basically because the people who are the main stakeholders, the underground factions, the underground groups, the NNC at that point of time was not taken into consideration, but rather the peace committee or the peace mission group, they were taken into consideration, and then the discussion and the accord was signed with these people. And therefore, because the main stakeholders were left out, the problem arose. Again, back in 1975, when the Shillong Accord was signed, it was we call it the infamous Shillong Accord. That is basically because it was the people were almost under duress. They were in prison. They were, almost forced to sign the Shillong Accord. And that was how, when they had demanded for sovereignty, well, whether India gives or not, but when they demanded for sovereignty, they were made to give up the total sovereignty that they were demanding for, and then they were made to said that we are coming within the Constitution of India. This may be contentious, but when the main people, a number of other groups or other underground leaders were not informed or were not there to sign this agreement, it became a problem. And therefore, soon after the signing of this, the Shillong Accord was rejected by a group of people. And then again, it blew up. And in 1980, I think the NSCN was formed. So this is a brief history. Later on, the NSCN parted ways, and that divided and became NSCN-IM and NSCN-K and so on and so forth. Now, there's a lot of history there. But my point of contention here, even today, after 24 years of being in ceasefire agreement, the government of India does not seem to understand the crux of the issue. The underground groups, they are demanding to be a complete free nation. But of course, as the things have changed, the global politics, the global scenario have changed, and then the definition of all of this also have changed by and by. They have agreed finally to come to a point when in 2015 they signed the framework agreement. They say that it will be a sharing of sovereign powers between the two entities. And so in the framework agreement, things are very clear that these are sharing of sovereign powers. Now, how these two entities will come to share powers, those are competencies that needed to be sorted out with the different groups. Now, later on, our Indian interlocutor, Mr. Arun Ravi, he has said that the interpretation of the sharing of sovereign powers has become different, or the meaning of two entities has become different. I don't know who is different and who is not different, who is right and who is not right. But my point is, if the negotiation is to be settled only by one party, it is not negotiation. If the other party is aggrieved, and if they say that they do not mean this, and if they try to say that the meaning of shared sovereign power means this, and the meaning of two entities means this, or the meaning for a new relationship means this, I think this should be heeded to, and the negotiation must go in that line. I'm sure there will always be a way when we can find out a solution. India is such a vast country with so many intellectuals and so many people that are across the world, have studied and known the politics of the world. And I'm sure that they will be able to find out a solution that is, honorable and acceptable even to the Nagas as well. And so I really appeal to the authorities concerned also that because this started as a political negotiation, it must come back to the political negotiation. It must come back to the table with our political leaders taking the lead. And only then will this negotiation come to a logical conclusion. At the moment, the NSCN is rejecting the offer of the Indian government to come back to the table because they think that it has been downgraded from the level of the highest office to the governor's table. And so I think this is quite something that the government of India also needs to look into. The first time when they signed the ceasefire agreement, I think it has to be looked into once again. That is all that I want to say.
Thank you, sir. Do you see it happening anytime in this before 2024?
I hope so. I hope it happens even, every Christmas, every New Year, they say that it is coming as a gift, and we only keep on hoping and hoping and hoping, and nothing is happening. The people are becoming very, very frustrated. The people are thinking that all of this will go to naught. And I think if that happens, it is not going to be good. It is not going to go well down our history.
Absolutely, sir. Sir, thank you for the insights and the realities on the ground. Really appreciate it. Sir, apart from these two contentious issues, climate change is also affecting the livelihood of the people, especially the ones who are dependent on the agriculture of the local area. Also, tourism is being affected primarily due to COVID-19. So, what are the initiatives that you are taking in order to circumvent the effects?
Well, climate change is one of the most dreaded things that we see in the coming years. I think it started quite a few years back, and the fact that a lot of initiatives across the globe has started to deal with this climate change. Back there in my own home state, though the Northeast has been considered as one of the hotspots of the world globe. It is the place is still green, it is still unexplored. A lot of natural resources are yet there, but slowly these are also going, slowly they are being degraded. A lot of commercial logging had taken place in the past. And now, of course, the Supreme Court has come in and the government has also taken stringent steps to stop all of this commercial loggings. We are really very happy. And yet, because people had to depend for their livelihood on some things, so they continue to do it illegally. They do deforestation, or they clear the jungles to do certain other plantations. For some time, this ganja or marijuana was one of the plants that they did. And now today, in the past 3-4 years, even poppy plantation has come. And these are some things which are very, very fearful. And because we have heard of the Middle East, where this poppy cultivation has grown into a big business, gun toddling, smuggling, and then a lot of insurgencies. A lot of things have happened around poppy cultivation. I think these are some serious issues that we also need to look at. And so these are some things that I'm really fearful of, and I wish that the government come in a big way. I hope that in the past and in the coming days, the government will approach this in a very more stringent way. Agriculture is the mainstay of our people. About 85% of my people are there dealing with agriculture. The rain pattern is changing. The sunrise and the sunset doesn't change, but the temperatures are changing. There are the pests and the whatever insects which are infesting and which are causing problems to our people who are land there. And so these are some things that we really think it's all because of climate change. There is more landslides, there is more floods, the patterns are changing. Sometimes during unexpected time, there is no rain and there seem to be drought. And so I think all this has to be attributed to climate change. If we look around the globe, there are, of course, a lot of floods that we see even in China or even elsewhere as well. And then also with landslides and, so much of earthquakes and unprecedented things are happening. I think if human race as a whole don't approach it together, I think it is going to be a problem. It is not only for the people of my constituency or for my state, or for that matter, even for the Northeast or India, but it is the whole of human race have to work together. We have to do something very, very seriously about it. I think that is all that I would like to say now.
Coming from IICSR, we couldn't more agree with your statement. The whole human race really needs to participate to counteract climate change, sir. So Manipur is known as well as security issues. What is your vision to tackle the same in the coming 5 years?
Well, Manipur, as you have already said, it's such a beautiful place. The Jawaharlal Nehru himself has called it the Switzerland of the East. And I think it is not too wrong to say that Manipur indeed is a very, very beautiful place. There is a small valley or a plateau which is surrounded by 7 hills, and there is one of the most beautiful natural freshwater lake with floating islands in the lake, in the place of called Loktak Lake. This is available in that state. There are various other things like the Shiroi lily, which is unique only to Manipur, the whole world. There is also the Dzoko Valley and the Dzoko Valley, which is also a beautiful valley of lined with the carpet of lilies. And so these are some very beautiful places. There are a number of waterfalls. There are a number of very fearful, lofty mountains, which also can be a lot of excitement to adventurers, people who can come and enjoy. But yes, in the past, there has been security issues. There has been a lot of insurgency that has come in. But I'm glad to tell you that with the coming of the NDA government, in 2017 in Manipur, the government, the BJP and the My Party, or rather some of the local regional parties have joined hands together to form this government. And ever since, there has been a change of attitude. The attitude change is not basically not from the population, but it is the change of attitude from the government. And I think that is the needful part. When there is a problem, we attend to it immediately instead of procrastinating, waiting that something will happen, or they'll get bored, they'll come away from it and things like that. Those things doesn't happen anymore. People are reactive. People are very conscious. People are so demanding, and yet I think the sense of understanding also prevails much better than before. With all the social medias, with all our mobile phones, the gadgets in our hand, we can see, we can almost go everywhere, anywhere, anytime. And so that being so, I think the security issues, as I said, in 2000 until 2017, there used to be a lot of blockades, a lot of bans, a lot of problems, a lot of shutdowns. But today, after 2017, after the NDA government took up leadership in Manipur, there has been, I should say, almost no bans at all. And so this is one great thing that we have seen. It is the change of the attitude of the government that whoever may be leading the government, it is. But without having to implement anything on the ground, just bringing peace and talks and talks and talks and going to the hills, going to the villages, going and talking to them. Oh, we'll give you this, that. Announcement of packages doesn't go down very well if in a period of a year or 2 or 3, nothing actually takes foot on the ground. So this is one of the problems that we're facing. It seems to be more and more of announcements, more and more of advertisements, more and more of promises than actually happening on the ground, excepting for road infrastructure, I think, and also water, which has made very good progress in the state of Manipur. There are other things which are very, very bad. As you say, COVID-19 has been one issue that we have really been stressed out with. All other activities are being stopped, and seemingly it has all changed its focus only towards COVID-19. And that is where I think we really need to plan out well, so that the need of the people, the desire of the people are also met with. And it is not only this COVID-19 that need to be battled. We need to do so. We need to do greatly, and yet we need to focus, fan out to other areas as well.
Sure, sir. So we all wish to come to Manipur with the same feeling and goodness and see its beauty, sir. So Digital Parliament is an online tool in which we connect the politically elected leaders with the masses in a far-fetched location. Do you see an initiation of digitization of your constituency? And if so, what kind of features do you see that an app like this should have?
I think this digital parliament is perhaps a very great initiative. Yeah, in fact, digitalization has done both good in parliament and also sent wrong messages in parliament as well. But I only hope that good things will prevail, sense will come to our people. When we as leaders of the nation, as parliamentarians, when we come to discuss a few things, we cannot actually accept, or we cannot push down only some views. It has to actually be able to discuss and understand the views of everyone concerned. What is good to you may not be good enough for me, and what is not good enough for me may be bad to someone else. And so I think these discussions should go on, and so pure democracy should go on, and in parliamentary it should function very well with good discussions and debate, and that's what I want. And as a fresh parliamentarian, I come to the parliament with a hope that there will be so many things that I can learn. But today, debate is something that I'm missing out. It is something where, understanding issues is something that I'm missing out. I only hope that things change. Now, well, back to my constituency. I think now digitization in the form of this type of broadcast that you're doing, it's so good, but the social medias are also contributing so much to this. And many times the people would like to focus more on the negative rather than the positive. And I think this is not a good thing for our nation. Our nation should have a positive attitude, and we must grow positively rather than focusing on something negative. I'm sure that as leaders, we try to do good in every field, in every aspect, but we have our limitations and we have our shortcomings. What I think good may not be good for somebody. And so that is bound to happen. But if there is any good, it must be appreciated and it must be, voiced. Otherwise, if only the negative is focused upon, I think it is something not going to be healthy for our nation. Well, I think the media also wishes to focus only on the negative things because those are catchy and those are some things that people like to view upon. But I think we must develop a positive attitude to our national growth. Nation must grow in a very positive way. I think this positive approach is something that I would really like to encourage, and I'm sure maybe your channel will do something like that. When you are actually viewing, when you are featuring MPs, I'm sure you ask very positive questions like this, and there are answers which you may get, which maybe all leaders may not accept, but if they are taken in the right spirit and discussions take place at the right moment, at the right platforms, I'm sure it will yield positive results always. And I'm not negative, or I'm not pessimistic to whatever is like to happen in the coming days. We only need to take care, and we only need to make this digital parliament something that is really, really worthwhile for our nation. The youth of our today, the youth of our generation must learn the good things. I was just going through one of the WhatsApp, it was something like a drama. The teacher said, okay, we'll act like what is happening in parliament today. And then the ruckus that took over, I'm sure many of us have seen, the ruckus that took over was really, really devastating. And that is what our people will learn if our digitalization doesn't focus on the right things. When we focus on issues that may not be very positive, a lot of murder, a lot of rape cases or a lot of unwanted scenes which are being focused, I think that will create a very bad impression that will go down even down the generations. And so let us be positive. Let us look at digitalization as something that will bring a more better, positive nation of India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an in-depth answer and for understanding and comprehending with the youth of India. Because you know that we all are watching and you all are like icons, and so I hope that we will see good things and positive things to show. On this note, may I invite my fellow panelist, Dr. K.K. Upadhyay, also to ask a set of questions, sir. So you are not audible. In case if you are using a mic, please do not use it. Okay, do type your questions so I can ask. Mr. Sushil Sharma, would you like to ask a question, sir?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It is an extremely beautiful location. And you also stated and shared a specialty, or I will say uniqueness of Manipur. Being power professional, I find that installed capacity in Manipur, electricity sector I am talking, is still not 160 megawatt, is less than 160 megawatt. And India as a whole, if we see, electrification is reported to be more than 98%.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the present scenario of electrification in Manipur, and further course of action to make it 100%?
Yeah, I think electrification has been a big challenge for a long, long time, and especially because of the demographic scenario of our state, especially the more rural, the distant places of Manipur, because of landslides, because of roadblocks, many times the power cuts are there. And so, especially the more distant it goes into the rural areas, there is more and more failure. And even when there is a failure, the issue of attending or rectification of these failures are also very, very poor. Maybe because, whether it is because of staffing pattern or the way that the government has distributed all the staff across the state, maybe it's not equal. It is concentrating mostly in some areas, and some areas are being neglected. Say in my subdivision, we have only one lineman, and that is a big problem. It's an area which has more than maybe 15,000-20,000 households, maybe even much.
I think, Saji, signal problem?
Yes, I think so. There is a signal problem from sir's side. So
yeah,
downstream project also is being initiated, but somehow it has not really come to a fruition. And then we have also initiated some thing on the solar power. Solar power also, I think it is something that is very environment friendly. So with a view to the climate change and also the greening of our planet, I think it is something that we must really focus on. But the cost of installation of such things being a little more expensive, maybe the per unit cost may be a little expensive. I don't know how the government will do it, but I'm sure that subsidies will come, and in some ways this also will be met with. I think it is a challenge. But of course, during the last few years, power situation in Manipur has improved so very, very much.
That's great, sir. Sir, you were talking about a beautiful lake, and I am sure there must be a series of lakes and water bodies. Now, sir, floating solar systems have come, and in India also, NTPC is installing a 90 megawatt solar station. So huge capacity.
Okay.
So you have the lakes, sir. This issue can be exploited.
Okay. No, so that is something new to me.
Yeah, local level generation will be possible, sir. And then distribution networks, they will also be localized. Won't be across states and hundreds of kilometers. So if
Okay.
shifted, it will be very practical, very useful, and very economical to cover all the households.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as far as per unit electricity cost is concerned, solar is now about less than 3 rupees.
Yeah.
That is very competitive with commercial setups.
Okay.
So probably if you take an initiative that can also be scaled up and quickly people will get the quality power available at their doorsteps.
Yeah, we are trying to bring in some investments from private investors. They're willing. Only thing is that the government has to give some support, and especially the buyback arrangement has to be made very tacitly with the government, and the price has to be also acceptable to those companies. And so those are some of the only issues. The government is trying to provide land. We have already acquired and given 200 acres to one company. I don't know what is holding back the issue, but things have not yet started. We are only hoping that in the next few months, maybe immediately after this rainy season, things will start. So let us be positive. Let us hope good things will happen.
Great, sir.
And thank you for that sharing of the floating solar system. I think that is something that is new to me, and definitely I will take it up with people concerned.
Sir, I will share some content on solar system with you. I will get an email from Harshaji, and I will share with you the details which are practical, which are existing in India, and which are working very effectively.
Right. Yeah, that is very great. Thank you for sharing.
I will do it, sir. Right, sir. Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sir, we have one question from Dr. K.K. Upadhyay is, his question to you as a doctor, will there be a third wave and are we prepared for it?
I think the best virologists of the world have already predicted that it is likely to come. And I think as per the trend that we have seen over the years, these predictions truly come. And they have come. We had predicted second wave, but India thought that first wave, we have done away with corona and will be all good and okay, but it came to us and we were very unprepared. I hope we don't take it complacently like we did in the second wave. This third wave, I'm sure it is bound to come. It will come. And when it comes, I don't know what magnitude it will come, what severity it will come. There are many hearsays, many things, many people say of many things, but we only hope that we will be prepared to tackle with the issue and we will come victorious.
Wonderful, sir. Any final message to all our viewers and all the youth who would be watching the recorded version, sir?
Yeah, I'm so thankful to you, Harsha, for this wonderful program. The only thing that I want to tell our youth, our viewers, is that there will be challenges in our lives. So also it is for me as a parliamentarian, there are so many challenges we will overcome. But whatever things that need to be done, I think it is not one man's show. So as we are fighting the climate change, it is not going to be a regional fight alone. It is not going to be India alone. It is not going to be Asia alone, but it is going to be the whole globe. Everybody living within this planet need to be involved. Likewise, if you and I want peace and you and I want development, we must be proactive. We must contribute. We must not always be criticizing, because that will downplay the good things that some people are doing, and it will also inhibit them from doing things. I only hope that these leaders who are doing will not succumb to criticism. But when we take criticism positively, let us also give creative or good criticisms, which will help us build. And let us always look at the things that are ahead of us in a very, very positive manner, because positivity is the only way we can grow. We can grow together. We can make a beautiful, growing, positive nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your presence and sharing your insights, wisdom, and thoughts with us. We wish you all the best, our team and all the youth who would be watching. We wish you all the best for the upcoming years and endeavors that you are undertaking and the missions, very important mission that is there in front of you, sir.
Thank you very much. All the best to this digital parliament. May you bring in good things for our viewers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.